An example would be, for instance, our Soliq feed. So it's a moist feed for laying hens, where we have a liquid layer mix that we add together with concentrates on farm. And it reduces the carbon footprint of the feed, but also of the eggs that are produced. And it increases the fit for feed score of the feed.
Sustainability in poultry production and the role of feed firm Agrifirm therein. That is what we want to discuss in today's Future Feed Talks. I am Fabian Brockötter, Editor-in-Chief of Poultry World, and this series is in cooperation with dsm-firmenich Animal Nutrition and Health. In this session, I will be talking to Els Willems, and she's R&D Manager Monogastrics at Agrifirm. Well, Els, welcome to Future Feed Talks. You're here at DSM Poultry Days in Vienna, talking about sustainability in your company, Agrifirm. Can you tell me something about the drive for sustainability within Agrifirm?
Of course. And first of all, I would like to say that I'm very happy to be here. At Agrifirm, our vision is a responsible food chain for future generations. And for us, we have translated that into three corporate social responsibility goals. We have responsible sourcing, responsible operations, and responsible solutions. And we have set for each of them specific targets for 2024.
So what would have the biggest impact in a company like Agrifirm? Is it sourcing or is it production?
Yeah, I think basically you need all three, of course, to reach your sustainability targets. It's not a silver bullet. So you need to look at your full operations and bring that into account and look at all the different parts. One that I'm especially involved in is responsible solutions. Next year, we want 15% of our gross margin to come from responsible solutions. And for us, it has to do with solutions that are linked with our global goals. And one of our global goals, for instance, is climate friendly. So you want to have a climate friendly production.
And what would be an example of such a solution?
An example would be, for instance, our Soliq feed. So it's a moist feed for laying hens, where we have a liquid layer mix that we add together with concentrates on farm. And it reduces the carbon footprint of the feed, but also of the eggs that are produced. And it increases the fit for feed score of the feed.
And what does fit for feed mean?
Well, it's a scoring methodology that we developed in-house. Basically, we want to look at feed food competition, and we want to see how much competition there is on feed food regarding land use in our different diets. So you see classically, for instance, that broilers are fed with a lot of cereal, a lot of high quality products, and the feed food competition on that can be quite high. So we look into ways how to decrease that feed food competition, and to make that easier, we have developed a scoring protocol where all of our raw materials are getting a specific percentage, and then you can put that in best mix or another feed formulation software, and you can also calculate it for the total feed. And then you can look for ways to increase that. And a way to increase that can be, for instance, add more co-products in your diets, because co-products obviously have very little or none feed food competition associated with them.
Yeah. And how does that translate back to Soliq?
Well, Soliq, of course, there you're replacing some of the soy by a liquid layer mix. And of course, that has a positive impact on the fit for feed score of the diet.
So the drive for sustainability and circularity, is that a typical Dutch thing?
I don't think it's a typical Dutch thing. I think there's a lot of attention on it within the Netherlands, but also within Europe. Of course, there are parts of the world that still have other issues to produce enough healthy, safe and affordable food. But sustainability, carbon footprinting and so on, it's not a local thing. It's a global issue that we have. And we see, of course, more and more that different parts of the world are also looking into these issues.
And what would be a good example? For instance, in the Netherlands, there is speak of the use of insects in poultry feed as well to increase circularity. Is that something you see as a solution moving forward?
Well, I think insects are suffering a bit from legislation because they're now put in the same category as chicken and pig and so on. And to make it really circular, of course, you have to feed these insects with sources that you could otherwise not valorize. So if you, for instance, could raise insects on chicken manure, then you can really make big steps into circularity. But that's not possible at the moment because of legislation issues. But the research is going on to move in that direction. And I think in the Netherlands, what we have, which is a typical circular thing, is the liquid feeding, for instance, also for pigs that we have. It's a very nice example of where you can increase your circularity by directly having liquid stackable co-products coming from the food or the fuel industry into the animal feed production.
You mentioned legislation as a break on the development of insect protein. Then again, there is also talk about legislation forcing a higher level of sustainability. Is it something you have to prepare for as a company?
Well, I think at Agrifirm we have the vision not to wait until we are forced until legislation, but we look into the world and we say we want a responsible food chain for future generations. And what does that already mean and how can we already take steps? And that requires exploring new ways, it requires courage and vigor, and we want to move ahead of the market to come to this responsible food chain. So I would argue not to wait until legislation forces you to move in a certain direction.
Are other feed manufacturers moving in the same direction as Agrifirm?
Yeah, I think we are all looking, we all have the same challenges and the same opportunities, for instance. And in the Netherlands, we work together to do research within the Feed for Future research consortium to work on circular solutions for broilers, layers, but also swine and ruminants.
And that's a cooperation within different companies?
Yes, so it's a collaboration between different Dutch feed companies that do research together to work on circular solutions for the different animal species.
And do you see the same developments in other countries as well?
I think that's difficult to say. I don't know if there's a lot of research going on together with different feed companies in the world, but I do think that most feed companies are well aware of the challenges that they have on sustainability, and they are looking into different ways to make steps in that. But the exact path that is being chosen and the timing can be a bit different, I can imagine.
Yeah, and you also mentioned that countries are moving at different speeds because of their availability of land and also for affordable food.
Yes, exactly. And I think that creating circular solutions can come with a number of challenges. A lot of these products, they're liquid, they're stackable and so on. It also depends on the size of the country, the transportation distances, whether it makes sense. And of course, these products need to be legally allowed in the feed. So they need to be, for instance, in the Netherlands, GMP plus certified. Not all streams, of course, have that label. So it depends a bit on the country and the different targets that are being set. What makes sense as a direction.
Yeah, when it comes to sustainability, what would be the main challenges you see on the path forward?
Well, we did that thinking exercise last year. We said, okay, if as a company we want to be more sustainable, we want to be more climate friendly, what would that mean? And then we have said we need a sustainability dashboard. There needs to be several parameters in that dashboard because some of these things can work against each other or can work with each other. So Fit for Feed, I mentioned before, is obviously in that dashboard. Also the carbon footprint of both the feed and the animal products is in there. And what for us is also very important is the net conversion efficiency. So classically, we would say you have a feed conversion efficiency. I need so many kilograms of feed to produce so many kilograms of animal products. But if you look into a circular agriculture, perhaps you say I should more look into how much human edible protein am I feeding in the feed and how much human edible protein am I getting out of the animal? Because every animal is capable of contributing to a circular agriculture, but you have to think very carefully on what you feed the animal. And if we look classically, for instance, a broiler, we feed it high quality cereal, then you're below 1. So you're actually wasting human edible protein by going through the animal. But if you feed it more with co-products, more with byproducts in a different way, you can end up above 1 and have a positive impact on the food production system.
Of course, the challenge is quite big. We have to produce way more food for a growing population. Do you see the potential there? Is that possible?
I think that's a very good question, and unfortunately I don't have the answer. I do see opportunities and potential in there, but I think we have to think very hard on how have we set up our food production system, and is it the right way? We've mentioned legislation before. Legislation can also work with you or work against you in that matter. Within the European Union, the legislation forbids a lot of the leftovers, the food waste, the swill of going back into the animal feed. You have different parts of the world, for instance, where you have more biomass available to produce animal products. I think we have to look at our system and that we have set up here, and then a lot can be possible.
So there is still hope for growing world population and also being able to feed them.
I think mankind has been faced with many challenges before, and we have thought about new and innovative ways to conquer those challenges. So I'm sure we will also do the same with the food production system.
That's really a positive outlook. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching Future Feed Talks. Do you want to see more episodes or listen to our podcast? Please click on the link below.